The word privilege has become very important in the last few years. More people are becoming aware of systemic inequalities in society, such as the lack of representation of Black women in leadership positions. They're also aware of the privileges, oppression, and lack of access that contributes to generational riches for some people and generational struggles for others. Privilege is access to education, resources, and acceptance. Privilege is made up of many things and is a huge head start in the race of life. American society will advance exponentially when underrepresented minorities are treated as equals at every level in society. With the increased attention we've seen in recent years, we must also see a genuine effort on diversity, equity, and inclusion with the key component of increased access. Without access, there can be no equity. Without a seat at the table, a voice that is heard and listened to, equal opportunity, equal pay, all efforts are performative and in many cases just blatant tokenism. Unfortunately, we live in a society when underrepresented minorities are still not at the top. If we look at Fortune 500 companies, for example, only 8% of CEOs are women, and only 2% of CEOs or less are Black women. How do we change a system where women outnumber men in degree attainment but are still vastly underrepresented in leadership positions? How do we promote social equity? We start by changing the leaders. Leaderships start with equity. This leadership revolution needs to have inclusive leaders at the top. Leaders that care about creating access to opportunities to our underrepresented minorities population. There are millions of underrepresented minorities living in poverty in the United States. And I personally understand how the lack of resources creates or limits the access that we have to opportunities in our lives. I grew up in abject poverty in Dominican Republic, raised lovingly by my grandmother in a cinder block home with no windows, dirt floors, and very occasional electricity or water. I was in third grade when I was 6 years old, and after graduating high school early at 16 years of age, I came to the United States seeking access and opportunity. I worked 2 shifts at McDonald's, prepared sandwiches, tutored college students, and sold flowers at a gas station. Also that I could pay for a mattress on the floor that I rented in a stranger's home, which was a huge improvement because I had experienced homelessness and constant dangers for a period of time. I experienced housing inequality, food insecurity, and I also rode buses all over Miami-Dade while attending college with no parental supports or papers. Despite all that, I graduated with my bachelor's degree with honors. I attended my master's degree and graduated top of my class. And finally, my doctoral degree. As a descendant of slaves, I can now say that I made my ancestors and my grandmother proud. I became the first person in my family to ever graduate from master's or doctoral degrees. I also experienced firsthand that despite of preparation, Black women face many unique challenges in the workplace. I went and got my education. I went and got prepared. In addition of that, I thought that if I had performed a high level, I was going to be given the same chance and opportunity to move up the ladder. Accent and all. How silly of me. There is a system in place that prevents Black women from moving up to positions of power. It is a system that is rooted in sexism, gender norms, societal expectations, and racism. It is a system that is rooted in exclusion and a complete lack of acknowledgement of Black women experiences in society. It is a system that protects leaders, and sometimes women leaders who practice discrimination, to stay in positions of power. And if you speak out against it, you will be persecuted over and over again. you will be targeted, retaliated, and ultimately, you may face termination. As it was in my case, despite my top teaching ratings, my contract was not renewed after submitting a discrimination and retaliation complaint against my leader. This leader exists because we still have leaders trying to protect them. And these leaders need to go. They protect a system that is rigged, that discriminates against underrepresented minorities, and they are harming our society. Leadership is a responsibility. And to be able to create an equitable future for all of us, we need to start promoting inclusive leaders. We need to make sure that underrepresented minorities have access to create generational wealth and that Black women are able to move up in positions of power of society. And to do that, we need to promote more inclusive leaders and watch out for the following 3 types of exclusive leaders. Number 1, the disconnected elitist. These are leaders that are disconnected from reality. They live in a bubble of elitism. Those are people that may evaluate someone like myself or another Black woman who grew up in massive poverty, and compare their resume to someone who grew up in massive privilege, growing up in a highly educated, affluent home, attending the finest American schools, someone who had access to elite social circles, affording them access to lifelong social capital. Disconnected elitists are conveniently unaware of the word privilege, its meaning, and how it affects society. While I was growing up carrying buckets of water to shower, lighting candles at nights to do my homework, and also drinking Malta for dinner, other kids grew up with their parents. They had access to nutritious food. They had access to private tutoring, coaches. They interned with their uncles and got a job right after college. They were exposed to words that I could ever imagine. While they were going to summer camp, I was shining shoes in my grandmother's house in the barrio. These disconnected elitists will use your personal background to justify their discriminatory behavior. And these behaviors may be allowing a Black woman to be passed over for a promotion in favor of a lesser qualified white colleague. Or it might be allowing that a mother is passed over for a promotion because of their caregiver responsibilities. We do not have access to the same privileges in life. And disconnected elitist, exclusive leaders will use that against us. The second leader we have to watch out for is, I will call it, the GTRN, the gaslighting, toxic, narcissistic leader. And racist too. These are the leaders who will gaslight your unique experiences and will let you know that you don't belong in certain spaces because of your minority status. I've been told that I belong at a less prestigious institution. And these leaders will try to change the word oppression for a word of special access. These leaders, if you ask them to create equity for minorities populations, such as a Black woman, the response will be to stop using the race card. Newsflash, minorities are not asking for special treatment. We will not be asking for equity had the system not be broken and had we had the same access to opportunity. We're not asking for special access. We're asking for equal access. A disabled person is not using the disabled card when they ask for accommodations. They're asking for the same access and opportunity to have the same experience at work. A mother is not using the motherhood card when they ask to go on maternity leave to take care of themselves and the newborn. They're asking to have the same access and opportunity of job security. A Black woman is not using the race card when they ask for more career opportunity. They're asking for the same access and privilege to move up the career ladder. Number 3, the performative ally leader. These leaders are usually mistaken for mentors and sponsors in the workplace. This is because they will promote an underrepresented minority sometimes. But they do this without the equal pay, prestige, and authority that comes with the position. They only do this for their own social capital or to demonstrate that they care about social causes. But in truth, they do not see underrepresented minorities as their equal, and they do not want underrepresented minorities at the table. Unfortunately, exclusive leaders still hold many positions in society. And we will not move forward on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts unless we take these people out of power. We all bring our identities to work. And these exclusive leaders, the more they're in power, the more they perpetuate systemic inequalities and systemic violations of federal laws and human rights. I bring all my identities to work. I am a doctor, an Afro-Latina, a coach, a mother. I bring my Dominican accent to work, my African and indigenous Taino ethnicity to work. I also bring my low socioeconomic class and my opportunity or my inclination to succeed as the first one in my family to ever graduate with master's and doctoral degrees. These are not cards that I'm playing. My life and my role in society matters. The leaders that we choose for our society matters. We must, if we want to create an equitable future for all of us, we must only promote leaders that practice equity. Inclusive leaders. Inclusive leaders are aware that privilege is access. They understand the role of intersectionalities of identities. And they also understand the benefits and the importance of having a diverse and inclusive workforce. We are all leaders in our own life. We impact our schools, our communities. We impact our families. So we all have a question to answer. Does your leadership exist to exclude the oppressed? Or does your leadership create equity for those who never had access? The choice will be yours to make. Choose bravely.